Hey everyone, Rascally Rasmus here. Today we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks for Enshrouded. I have recently been playing a lot of Enshrouded with my girlfriend as we want to get into the game for the new patch coming up here very soon. So with that, let's just get straight into the tips. The first tip I want to talk about is while you're exploring in Enshrouded, keep an eye out for hidden places like this. You can see here is actually a switch on this door that you can press, and behind the door is a chest. If you see a suspicious pile of dirt, it might be worth digging in it because sometimes there's a chest or hidden room behind it. So just a recommendation to keep an eye out for hidden things as you're exploring. The second tip is that chests in Enshrouded reset. So whenever you restart the game, the chest will also reset. So this means that you can loot the same chests multiple times. You do, however, need to go back to the chest, of course, and the chest won't reset if it's within your flame altar. So that's also something to keep in mind. It's also worth noting that the loot in the chest will always be the same level, regardless of how many times you loot the chest. Next up, I want to talk about the comfort buff. You get the comfort buff for being sheltered, sitting, sleeping, and warm at the same time. And what this does is essentially it gives you more maximum stamina, but also more stamina regeneration. So it's a very worthwhile buff to have. And the comfort level is determined by both the quality of the bed you're sleeping in and all the cosmetic items around you. A lot of them have a comfort score tied to them. So the higher the comfort score, the higher the comfort level, and the higher the comfort level, the longer the buff lasts. In extension of that, I'd also strongly recommend that you carry around a campfire or at least woodlock so you can make a campfire, because the campfire can be a way to basically replenish your comfort buff while you're out in the wild. Just find somewhere to sit down, pop the campfire down, and you can warm yourself by the campfire, and as such you can replenish that comfort buff. I'd also strongly recommend that you craft a better torch. When you unlock the Huntress, you can start crafting better torches, and these torches essentially last longer than the regular base torch that you can craft. The base torch will sometimes break down into just a twig, even if you have durability disabled. So if you haven't crafted a better torch, I'd strongly recommend carrying around some plant fiber as well, so you can recraft a torch when it breaks, because it's very frustrating being in a very dark place with no torch. For the next tip, I'd strongly recommend that you do both the Shroud routes and elixir wells on the map, because they give you skill points, which are very beneficial, but also that you keep an eye on your quest log on objectives on the map, because Enshrouded is very much centered around doing these objectives. So obviously you can go exploring freely, but if you want to progress, then it seems to be very, very helpful following the quests in the journal, especially to unlock the NPCs, as these are quite important and gate a lot of the crafting in Enshrouded. I'd also strongly recommend playing on custom difficulty. You can tweak the game to your liking this way, and there's a lot of things to tweak. For instance, I do not like weapon durability, and so I've just disabled it. So my weapons no longer break, and it's great. You can change these settings at any point just by going to the server menu and edit, and then you can tweak the settings. Next tip is a quick one, but I just want to recommend that if you find armor while out exploring and you don't have a cosmetic set equipped, you can utilize this space here as extra storage for armor pieces. So this can be pretty helpful when backspace is limited. The next tip is also a pretty simple one, but these flame altars, I just want to recommend that you utilize them as fast travel points, basically. So you can basically put them down whenever you want to go back home and drop off your inventory, and then you can teleport straight back to it. And yeah, it's just, they essentially function like waypoints, so they're very, very helpful. In extension of that, I also want to say that you should focus on upgrading your flame altar, because not only does it increase the altar capacity, like how many you can have, but it also allows you to go into more higher level shroud places, and also increases your stats, and also increases the time you can spend in the shroud. So definitely prioritize upgrading these flame altars. I also want to suggest that you upgrade your equipment pretty early on, because it can be pretty helpful to gain that extra edge over the enemies. You do it by just going to any craftsperson, and here you can upgrade your equipment at the cost of runes. White items can be upgraded once, green items twice, blue items 3 times, purple items 4 times, and orange items 5 times. So the better the quality of the item, the higher the level you can upgrade it to. But the base level is obviously still really important, because if it's a low base level, then you will still not be able to upgrade it into anything useful necessarily. And in extension of that, I'd also recommend that you scrap older equipment, because this is a very good way to get additional runes. So any equipment you don't need, you can easily scrap and get runes from. Straight from the start of Enshrouded, I strongly recommend that you eat food and have these food buffs active, because as you can see up in the left corner, you can have up to 3 food buffs active at a time. Early food buffs that are really good would be wolf meat would be a good one, and also just water, because water helps a lot with your stamina regeneration because of the stamina recharge here. And so these are pretty easy to come by early in the game, but also later. And the meat you simply just cook at any cooking fire, and the wolf meat gives a lot of extra health. An extension of that, bandages and berries can be really good for healing up early on. Bandages you can craft for just some cloth and some string, and the berries you find. That being said, there is a point to stockpiling quite a bit of berries here, and also some of the red mushrooms and water, because you need these things to craft healing potions later on. In terms of how you get water, there's no like pools of water in Enshrouded. The only way you can get water is either as drops or from a well. So I strongly recommend early on building a base close to a well, because the wells are a very reliable source of water and you can loot them multiple times. Alternatively, you can also put down a flame altar close to a well, so you can just teleport over to the well. But regardless, I'd at least recommend finding a well. Something that we were a little confused about early on in Enshrouded was, how do we farm? Like, how do we plant stuff? And to do this, you need to unlock the farmer, and with the farmer, you need to craft the seed bed, and here you can then craft seeds. And once you get the seeds, all you need to do is just literally place them in the dirt. There's no need to water them or anything. You just place them and wait. You can place them here in like farming soil that you can craft at the farmer, which will increase the growth speed, but that's about it. So farming is pretty simple, but just wanted to call it out because we spent a while trying to figure out how it worked in the first place. The next tip is that you can have multiple potions active at a time and that they don't compete with food buffs. So you can have both. Also with potions, another tip is to really just keep in mind that if you're using potions such as this one, you need to use it before you go in the Shroud. It won't increase your current Shroud timer by 2 minutes, which I learned the hard way. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, don't underutilize the potions. They're actually really, really strong and very helpful, and there's no reason not to use them. This tip is a pretty quick one, but if you're playing multiplayer and you miss a quest reward because the other person is doing it without you or something like that, then down here in Mist Embervale quests, you will be able to see the quest. And if you activate the quest here, your personal world space will basically transform, allowing you to do that quest. So every once in a while, just check down here if you missed something when playing multiplayer. I also want to talk briefly about some good early game skills to pick. I think the strongest one I'd recommend is going up here and getting double jump, just because double jump is amazing to have, and I think it's basically a must-have. Another good skill to pick could be the updraft skill over here, which can give you this boost while gliding. If I go here, you can see that if I activate it again, it will propel me upwards, which can also be very helpful while navigating the world. So that's also a really good skill to pick up. I also quite like the blink, which replaces your dodge with a blink. It's obviously personal preference, but I like the blink a lot. And if you're playing a melee build, then evasion attack, not evasion attack, but battle heal is really, really strong, because getting this sustained healing is just very, very good. Similarly, for other types of builds, I do really like getting some sort of sustained healing into your build in some capacity, whether it's through a ring or skills, because it's really annoying having to use a bandage every time you're taking a slight bit of chip damage. I also want to recommend that you build some mannequins, some crafting dummies, because these are really nice. You can build them at the carpenter, and you can put an armor set on them. And if you have the armor set on them, you can press equip as vanity, and it will automatically swap it with your current equipped armor. Similarly, if you press again, it will swap the whole thing back. And if you do the opposite, equip as armor, it will swap your whole set. So this can be an extremely easy way to swap between different armor set or different cosmetic sets. And the last thing I want to say is that Respec is really, really cheap. At any flame altar, it costs 10 runes to respec at any point in the game. So I'd strongly recommend that you experiment with builds. Try out different things. Figure out, do you like playing mage? Do you like playing melee, ranged, whatever? Try it all out, because it's super cheap to respec. So yeah, knock yourself out with respecing. That's going to be it for this video. I'm going to be doing more Enshrouded videos in the future, so if you want to see those, then please consider liking and subscribing, or if you just enjoyed the video in general, it's really appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, have a very nice day.